Welcome to the Supreme Court Podcast. Is the consent of the adopter's legitimate children required in a petition for adoption? This was discussed by the Supreme Court in the case Bagcat-Gullas versus Gullas. In this case, a minor, Joanne, and her biological mother, Seti, used to live at the house of Nena and her husband, Jose. Nena and Jose supported Joanne and Seti. As Seti had no source of income, Joanne has no known father. When Seti eventually abandoned her daughter Joanne, Nena and Jose continued to provide Joanne's needs and treated her as their own child. Later, Nena and Jose filed with the Regional Trial Court a petition for adoption and correction of entries in Joanne's birth of records. Initially, the RTC granted the petition for adoption, but it later set such ruling aside after the legitimate children of Jose claimed they are indispensable parties to the petition as children of the adopter. This was opposed by Nena and Jose. However, the Court of Appeals affirmed the RTC's ruling, prompting Nena to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that the consent of the adopter's children is necessary for the adoption to be valid. Under Section 9, Paragraph C of the Domestic Adoption Act, the written consent of the adopter's legitimate children, aged at least 10 years old, is required. This is to ensure harmony among the prospective siblings. This also puts the other children on notice that they will have to share with another person their parents' love and care, as well as their future share in their parents' estate. In this case, the legitimate children of Jose are all over 10 years old at the time of the adoption proceedings. Hence, they are indispensable parties to the adoption petition, making the written consent necessary. Thus, the initial ruling of the RTC granting the adoption petition without first impleading the adopter's legitimate children is void. Finally, with the effectivity of the Domestic Administrative Adoption and Alternative Child Care Act in 2021, the Domestic Adoption Act has now been repealed. Under the new law, domestic adoption proceedings are now administrative and no longer judicial. The new law also retains the requirement of the written consent of the adopter's legitimate children at least 10 years old. To read the full text of this case, you may visit the Supreme Court website and search for Bagcat-Gullas versus Gullas, GR number 264146.